Well, good morning, everybody. As usual, when you get a chance, go ahead and head over to the Google Classroom. And when you get there, as usual, please go to the About page. And from the About page, if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll find our section called Google PD Resources. And the January 2017 doc will be in that list of PD resources, which will get you to that Google document there. If for any reason you can't get to it, let me know, but that seems like it's been working well for folks today. A little bit of housekeeping before we jump into our main content for our session today. I do have a couple of quick announcements here in the first section to draw your attention to. One is something new I'm trying that I hope would be beneficial to folks. Through the county, we do what are called lead teacher meetings, where I think they've got like 15 different lead teacher groups. There's like 3 levels of math. There's like, K to 2 math, 3 to 5 math, middle school, high school math, and there's like social studies and science and language arts and all this. And they do these lead teacher meetings. But these meetings, they're only like, I think 4 times a year, so there's like a pretty big gap in between them. And I was thinking, I come across these really neat resources, and I don't want to wait, 2 more months or 3 months to, see the lead teachers to give them this. Is there a way I could get information out to people more frequently? And so starting last month, I started it up, just kind of experimenting with it, and then worked on it a lot more throughout January. What I'm doing now is I've created a Google document for each one of the lead teacher groups. There's a doc for science, or elementary science and high school science, and middle school and high school math and elementary math and so forth. There's a Google Doc for there's like 15 different lead teacher groups. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm basically just collecting useful resources that I find throughout the month. So most days, if I get a chance, I try to. I check a bunch of different educational blogs, and there's podcasts I listen to, and I jump on Twitter and see what people are sharing there. And if I come across something that's neat, I'm like, oh, this is great. A science teacher would love this, or a math teacher would love this. What I'm basically doing is just taking that stuff and copying and pasting it into these Google Docs. So if I go here to ti.apps.spark.org/subjects, that'll take you out to the subject page. And you'll see we've got language arts, math, science, social studies, and specials. If we go, for example, math, here's middle school and high school math. This is the doc. This is the Google Doc that has all of these resources. I'll zoom in a bit so you can see this a little bit better. And so basically, here's everything that I found in January. So these are just things I came across, again, while I'm reading blogs and I'm checking all the educational resources that I look at each month. As I find them, I've been copying and pasting them into here. And next month, I'll just push this down and add February to it. So it's not going to be a new doc. This will just be an ongoing running list. It'll just keep growing bigger and bigger and bigger as it goes. But for example, in January, math related, I came across things like how to teach math vocab using the Frayer Model Graphic Organizer. Came across Google Earth Walks, which is problem solving using Google Earth for math and science and so forth. Came across a really good educational resource on exponents and roots. This teacher does this phenomenal job. She makes videos, first of all, so she creates instructional videos. Then she puts them inside of Edpuzzle, where it pauses every few minutes and has a question embedded in it, so that the kids can watch the videos, and while they're watching it, it's got these interactive self-checks. And she put the whole thing for free just right there on her website. So it's like a whole unit just ready to go. It's really, really nice. So, these are things that, again, I came across and said, hey, people would appreciate this. And so I copy and pasted it in there. Now, in addition to things specific to the subject, if I come across resources that would benefit just anybody, I throw those under the general part of it. So there's the January math and the January general. So these are things that pretty much anybody could grab something from regardless of what you teach. So anyway, just would encourage you to maybe bookmark that page, check back every now and then. It's not something I'm going to do once a month. I mean, once a month I'll switch to a new month in there, but I'll keep adding things all throughout the month to it. So periodically open it up, and who knows, you might find some really useful tech ideas, and it's all tech related, so it's all tech integration stuff. But hopefully you'll find some useful things that you can use with your kids. So that's that. The other thing I just wanted to remind you guys of is I try to do 1 or 2 webinars each month, and during January these are the 2 that I did. So if you want to catch either of those, they are recorded. Anytime I do a webinar, it gets recorded. So since this is a math group, I don't know if the literacy activity one would apply as much, but the one on screencasting definitely would. Actually, I talk a lot about math in that one. It does fit in well. Either way, if you click the link, it'll take you out to the blog post where I have the embedded webinar video. So there it is. The video is an hour long. Each webinar is an hour long, but at the end of it you can take a quiz to get a certificate of attendance. So it'll generate a PDF certificate of attendance to turn in for 1 hour. And then further down it's got all the resources, so you can go down and check out all the different resources that go along with the training. So you see, there's math right there. Very good. So that's what I did in January, and then upcoming in February, the webinar is going to be on Google Sheets, taking a look at how spreadsheets can be used in all subject areas to help students learn. So that one's coming up February 9th, I think. Yeah, and again, if you can't watch it live, no problem. They're all recorded. You can catch it whenever is appropriate for you. So just wanted to draw your attention to those. All right. So today, what we're going to be talking about is a little bit different than normal. Typically, we've been working through the units in the Google Certified Educator training. So today normally would have been units 5 and 6. If we have time at the end, we can definitely dive into these a little bit more. Unit 5 would have been on calendars and Google Keep. Unit 6 is a lot on Hangouts. Great stuff. Put in some resources there for you. However, turns out that since the last time we met, some neat updates have come out for Google Classroom. So Cindy asked if today I would veer off a little bit and cover this instead. And so what we want to talk about is differentiation in Google Classroom, with some new updates that have come out, as well as some things we've always been able to do, but now maybe it's just a little bit easier to do. So here's where we want to start this morning, is talking about what these updates are. So I'm going to go out to Google's blog post here. Back on January 11th, Google announced a couple of neat updates to Classroom. The first update is the ability to push out individualized work for differentiated learning. So what I mean by that is, in the past, when you had an assignment or an announcement or a question, anytime you pushed something out in Classroom, it went out to every student in the class. That's not the case anymore. You now have the ability to choose which students get which assignment, which announcement, which question. It can be a single student, it can be a group of students, or it can still be the whole class. You now have that ability. And we're going to dig into that real deep here this morning and take a look at how that works. The other announcement they made is they now have some new notifications that they didn't used to have. It used to be that you didn't get a whole lot of notifications. Basically, if there was a new post in the stream, like for the Google Classroom you guys belong to, if Cindy posted something new, you'd get an email saying, oh, here's a new post in the stream. Or if a student sent you a private note, which you can do. When they submit something, there's a spot they can add like a private note. That would generate an email to you. Well, they've added a couple new notifications, so now if a student submits work late, so if there's late work and they submit it, you'll now get an email that says that was submitted late. And also if they resubmit work. So if they did an assignment and you graded it and you gave it back to them and said, hey, you need to fix this or that, and then they resubmit it, you will get notified of that. Now what the notifications look like, it's basically something like this, just an email, says submitted late, and it says, hi Eric, test user 01 just submitted Famous Americans report. It was due on this date, it is late, and so you get a notification of that. Now,
is that saying the Google Mail?
Well, I'm using Gmail. You guys will get it through Outlook.
We do?
It'll send you the message. Yeah, it'll come to your Outlook.
I've never gotten it.
Well, now, that's another possibility is you can turn off notifications. So let me show you where that's at. To make sure you get these notifications, you need to, in Classroom, go to the menu option in the very top left, and from that drop down there's a settings option at the very bottom, and notifications need to be checked. As long as they're checked, anytime a student sends you a private message, or now if they do late work or if they resubmit work, that will kick off an email message to you to let you know that. You would get slammed. That was sort of the whole point of Classroom, was to cut down on every time somebody shares something, getting notifications like that. I know you get notifications for private messages. So if somebody is in to the class, and well, let me see if I got an example here. There we go. So right here where it says add a private comment. So if I'm a student and I've gone to my assignment and I'm ready to submit something, if I go add a private comment, that generates a notification. So
is it for the whole system or is it just for that class?
You get notifications specifically for the classes you teach. So
if I'm part of GHS staff,
yeah,
you get a notification.
You're not the teacher of that class, so the only notifications you would get from GHS staff would be like if Cindy posts something in a stream, because that's a new announcement in the stream. But no, if you're not a teacher, you're not going to get private comments that are being sent or anything like that.
We don't get them all, because I'm a teacher in that one, and I don't get it every time they put lessons. I only get it when they put a comment.
That's right. Yep, it's the private comment.
So the Classroom main menu is for the big classroom thing. Like I've got 9 different classes in my class.
This covers this setting here covers, whoops, if I can get to them,
The whole thing.
Covers notifications for everything. That is right. It is not specific to each class. It covers everything. All right, so those are the new updates. What we want to do today is we want to talk about differentiation, okay? We want to talk about how could you use Google Classroom with this new feature as well as existing features. How can we use this to differentiate, basically to allow students to learn and express their learning in different ways, so everybody is not treated exactly the same. How can we differentiate our instruction and their learning? Okay, so when I thought about this, I thought of at least, I'm going to say probably 3 main areas that this could happen in. And I'd like us to look at each of those 3 and kind of brainstorm for each one of them. So I'm going to be asking you guys for each one of these 3. So what do you think? What are possibilities here? And if there's more than the 3 I thought of, that's fine too. But as I was kind of thinking about this, I thought of 3 main areas where Google Classroom could be used for differentiation. Now, the first one we just talked about, and that is choosing which students get which assignments. So that's the one we just talked about. That's a new feature. Google just rolled that out. When you create an assignment now, you can choose who gets the assignment. Now, I want to show you how it works, but then I'm going to ask you, so what? How would you use this in your class? So I want you to be thinking about that. How would you use this to differentiate in your class? So how it works is this. If you go to Classroom and you go to the plus button, and you go up to either announcement, assignment, or question. It works with all 3 of them. I'm going to show you an assignment just as an example, but it works with all 3 of these. If I say I want to create an assignment, and I come in here to create my assignment, I'll say, oh, I'm going to make a photosynthesis assignment. I'll just use that as an example. And I'm going to put in some directions here, and I'm going to pick a due date, and I'm going to add some resources. Totally normal, nothing unusual there. Where things are different now is there's now a drop down up here that says all students. So when I create this assignment or announcement or question, whatever it is I'm creating, I can now click the little drop down here and it shows me everybody in the class. I can uncheck all students, and then I can scroll down through and find just the individual students that I want to push that out to. And so now that I've selected those students, these 3 students are going to get that particular assignment. Nobody else is going to know about it. It's not going to show up in their stream and be grayed out or something. If you're not one of those kids, you don't see that assignment. It just does not show up for you, okay? Somebody asked earlier today, does this work retroactively? And it does. I didn't even realize that it did, but it actually does. You can go back afterwards and remove kids from an assignment. So if you've already pushed out an assignment, you can actually go in and hit the little edit button and it'll let you uncheck students. So you can, if somebody was absent and you don't want them taking the quiz, you can go in and now remove them from the student list. So that's kind of cool. So it's not even just, it's when you're creating the assignment, but it's also retroactively. You can go back and change an assignment after the fact. So here's my question for you. Knowing that, you can now choose who gets an assignment, who gets an announcement, who gets a question, any one of these things you create. Knowing that you can choose that, how would you use that? How could that help you differentiate in your class? How do you see yourself using a tool like that?
I don't do extra credit, but this would be a good extra credit assignment for students who would like to do something more.
Ah, okay.
I'm thinking for advanced students, students that want to go above and beyond, like they've met said requirements or said standards. So go above and beyond, I could have a different assignment there.
I like that because differentiation is for all students. Sometimes you hear differentiation, you think, oh, this is for my struggling students. Well, yes, true, but it's for every student. It's for enrichment as well. So I like that idea that this could be for enrichment options where certain students might get a different assignment or different resources that are going to let them go further, dig deeper because they've moved a little bit faster. Okay? How else could this be used?
So we put our kids in teams.
Okay.
Usually, and when they're grouped with similar ability, which is not always the case, but sometimes it is.
Okay.
When they are, sometimes it's like, I only expect this group to do 1 through 5, I think this group should do 1 through 7, and this one should do 1 through 10, and it's awkward saying that out loud. So you could just push out the assignment to the teams and say, finish your assignment before you leave.
Absolutely. That's perfect. So you've got leveled assignments where, for whatever reason, we've been able to identify where kids are at with their proficiency in this particular skill. So we've got them in groups. And you're right. The assignment may not be the same for all the students. The different groups are getting different assignments. Nobody needs to have you make a special announcement, draw attention to it. When you create the assignment, you choose the students based upon the groups they're in, and they get leveled assignments. Love it. That's perfect.
I'm thinking like if kids fail a test and you want to allow them to retake only if they do a certain assignment.
Wonderful. Love it. Love it. So requirements for retaking an assessment. So exactly, if they're going to retake this, they've got to go through some. That's a very common, approach. It makes perfect sense. Don't waste my time. Don't waste yours. You got to put in the effort if you're going to retake it. We need to see that you've done that. Yeah, have that be differentiated so the rest of the class doesn't see that assignment. Just those. If you complete this, that's your ticket into being able to retake the assessment. I like that a lot. That makes a lot of sense. Other ideas?
Like for a math class, you wanted to introduce a concept and you want this group, you're going to do this part of the concept, you're going to do this part, and then they present to the class.
That'd be awesome.
It's one of our little strategies.
Those are one of our little things.
Yep. Do you guys have a name for that?
Yeah, probably.
Whip around?
Jigsawing, or
Jigsaw's one, yeah.
yeah, is that a name to call it? But basically what we're talking about is grouping, or like, like a jigsaw, type of a thing. The idea that differentiation, it may not be that there are different levels, is that you're having them take different responsibilities for the project. You guys are taking this topic, you're taking this, you're taking that. Work in your groups on these specific things, which you're then going to report back. That was really hard to do in classroom before now, but now we can do it. Now we can group students for those sort of activities. Much, much easier. That's great. One I heard earlier today, somebody talked about scheduling issues. They said they had some kids that are going to be out today from class because of some obligations they had, and they're going to be doing some face-to-face instruction, but these kids are going to miss it. And so they said, I could push that assignment out to just those 3 kids that are missing my class today through Classroom because they need it, and this could be my way to give it to just them, even though everybody else, we did it as a face-to-face activity. So for scheduling issues, for kids that missed something without making the whole stream a mess with all these things, just the kids that need that missed work can get it. There's a lot of good ideas there. So enrichment, extra work for those that are struggling, leveled groups or just jigsawed groups, scheduling issues, a lot of possibilities there. So that's one way that Google Classroom can be used for differentiation. We can now choose who gets which assignment. Oh yeah, one other that somebody mentioned was they said they give different quizzes sometimes for different students, and they'll push it out as a Google form, and that they said this would work great for them to be able to say, I'm going to give this quiz to these students and this quiz to these students, and nobody ever has to know the difference because you only see the quiz you get. So it was also for different assessments. Not just assignments, but different assessments, the actual quiz, the actual Google form quiz, they were sending them out. All right, well, let's go a little deeper then. So that's one option. At least that's one thing that came to my mind. Another thing I was thinking of when it comes to differentiation with Google Classroom is, let's call it allowing students to choose how they learn. Now, what do I mean by that? So here's the idea. I'm going to go back to my photosynthesis assignment. So I am pushing out an assignment on photosynthesis. And I want the students to learn about photosynthesis, or fill in the blank, whatever is the topic you're having them learn about. Well, as you know, when you create an assignment, there's these little buttons at the bottom that allow you to attach things. So there's a paper clip that lets you upload a file. There's a drive icon, grab something off your drive, YouTube icon, web link, grab a web link. You can attach things to the assignment. Well, let's say that's how I want the students to learn about the topic. So here is my topic, photosynthesis assignment, and down here I'm going to attach learning resources to it. Here, look at this resource that'll help you learn about photosynthesis or learn more about it or dig deeper or whatever, so that you can then work on your assignment. Well, the thing is, folks, you are not limited to just attaching one thing to an assignment. You're allowed to attach as much stuff as you want. Okay, there's really no limit at all to that. And there's something to be said for that, because not every student learns the same way. Some are more visual, some are more auditory, some are more kinesthetic. We all relearn different ways, okay? So we could attach a wide range of learning resources to this, so that when a student is doing the assignment, they can choose what makes the most sense to them. So let's brainstorm. My question for you is, what could I attach to this assignment that would be a possible learning resource for students. Let's see if we can come up with as many possible things that you could attach to an assignment to try to hit different learning modalities and different learning types. What are some possible things I could attach?
I was thinking for photosynthesis, you could have like a picture of how photosynthesis works, but then
Love
you
it.
could also have the video that talks about the picture, but separate.
Okay, so I'm hearing we could do a diagram or like an infographic, something, along those lines. But then I'm hearing you're saying we could also attach a video. Wonderful. So we got a diagram,
Same thing.
and then we have a video. What else? What else could you attach to an assignment that would give, or think about how you learn best? What would you like if you were getting an assignment like that? What sort of resources would help you or could help your students learn?
My stats kids use guided notes most of the time.
Oh.
I could put guided notes, but then I could also attach like a reading and a video, and it's like you decide how you come up with what you need to come up with.
So there'd be a reading, so it could be an article, something they're reading, and then there's guided notes. Okay, I love that.
And a video.
And a video. Yeah,
But they just get to pick what they do.
I love it. What else? What else could we attach to an assignment? It doesn't have to be photosynthesis. You can think about your own content. I was just using that as an example. But we've got a diagram, we've got a video, we've got a reading, we've got guided notes.
One of your really cool Desmos lessons that
yeah.
I'm so jealous of.
Okay, so something that is
They're awesome.
some kind of an interactive, right? So basically something that's an interactive or a simulation, right? So something that they're actually going to do, like Desmos is phenomenal, or if it was photosynthesis, maybe there's like, some HTML5 website that allows you to go through and actually do the process of photosynthesis and interact with it and click on things and see it happen. Okay, I love that. What else? What else could we attach? There's no right answer. These are all good.
What is that new thing that everybody was talking about at the last staff meeting? They can make the videos. Megan Miller's been using it a ton.
Have the questions with him.
Yeah.
It's like Ed Puzzle, Play Pause It, all of those. RuClick. There's a bunch of them out there that do
That's
that.
something the district paid for, though. They were talking about how that we have limited licenses. I don't remember what it was. I can't think of the name.
Well,
Yeah.
But basically what you're talking about, yeah, it's something like, there's Ed Puzzle, there's Play Pause It, there's RuClick. These are all different ones. Basically what they are interactive videos where they stop at some point during the video, they pause, and you have to answer a question or somehow, be involved in it. That would be a great example.
Nearpod.
It is, huh?
Is it Nearpod?
That's it.
Nearpod!
Nearpod. Yeah, Nearpod, it's like an interactive slideshow, basically. So what Nearpod does is it takes like a traditional slideshow presentation, and it allows you to interject interactive elements throughout it, so that when you get to a certain slide, now you have to do something. You have to answer a question. So that's great. So we could do a regular slideshow. We could do an interactive slideshow.
You gotta do some
All
more
the
work.
videos I've done so far are gone.
If you upload the video,
Now, to show you what this would look like, and these are great, these are all excellent ideas, and we're just starting to get cooking. There's probably a whole bunch, we could probably think of a lot of other ones if we keep thinking about it, as to think of all the ways kids can learn. It doesn't have to be just one thing. And when you do this, when you go into classroom, you just keep clicking the buttons and you keep adding as much as you want. Well, I did that as a sample here. This is a student activity of the photosynthesis project, and I pushed this out to a test student here. And when the student goes into his project, basically he just sees all of the resources. So you click the project, and here's a whole bunch of just samples that I attached. So for example, this is just a traditional website. Nothing fancy here. just a website. What is photosynthesis? It talks you through, it's got some pictures, got some links. It's just a straightforward instructional website. Or here's a video. This is from Crash Course Biology. Crash Course is a phenomenal YouTube channel. This will teach them all about photosynthesis. Or the photosynthesis song. Maybe there's a student who really is very musical, and that's what's going to work. This is going to put this song in their head, and they're going to remember it because of that. Well, add the photosynthesis song. Or here is an interactive. This is from Bioman. This is a photosynthesis interactive. I actually tried it out. It's really neat. It's kind of a game, but you basically have to watch the process, and then you have to replicate it, and you have to move the molecules and make the sun shine and do all the stuff. And by the time you're done, you have a really very, very deep understanding of what is happening in photosynthesis. It's a really neat activity. Here is an infographic. So maybe that works for a student to see a diagram. So that would be the best for them. Here is what's called a hyperdoc. It's basically a Google Doc, but it's loaded up with resources that students would click through to learn. Kind of like the old web quests we used to do many years ago. This is like a Google Docs version of that. Then here's a Prezi, so a slideshow presentation that's linked in. Right, those are just some examples. There's so many more things, and you guys did a great job listing even more things that could have been attached to this. And the idea is the students don't have to look at all of that stuff. They pick and choose. They've got 7 examples, or they've got 5 examples, or they've got 8 resources. They choose the things that make the most sense to them, because they learn better with a video, and I learn better by reading, and I learn better by doing. Okay, great. You find the ones that you like. So that is something to consider when it comes to differentiating with Classroom. One option is choosing who gets the assignments, but another option is choosing what resources are in the assignment. Classroom really lets you do that. It allows you to very easily attach a wide range of multimedia and all sorts of different things. So when you give an assignment, consider that. Okay? Let's talk about a third option. Okay? And this one would be allowing the students to choose how they show their learning. So we talked about using Classroom to choose who gets which assignments, using Classrooms to let kids choose how they learn, but now we're talking about the end of it, the actual product that the students create. So back to the photosynthesis example. I could say, okay guys, your responsibility is to write a 3-paragraph paper that explains the process of photosynthesis. That's the project. Go do it. Let's say I've got 75 kids, whatever. I'm going to get 75 pages with 3 paragraphs on each that tell me how photosynthesis works. There's nothing wrong with that. That's certainly fine. However, we do have an option with Google Classroom to let the students submit whatever they create, and it doesn't have to be all the same thing. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to again have you brainstorm, so you start the wheels turning. The question is going to be, what are as many different possible products you could think of that a student could make to show what they've learned about photosynthesis? Now, while you're thinking about that, let me show you how kids turn things in that are different, okay? So let me go back over to my student page. So here's my student, okay? He goes into his photosynthesis project. He looks at all the great resources. When he scrolls to the very bottom, there's a section called Your Work. And down there, there's an Add button and a Create button. The student can click the Add button, and they can add anything they want from their Google Drive, or a web link, or an uploaded file. That could cover a wide range of things. So basically anything on their drive, any link to anything on the internet, and any file that they've got saved. Or they can create stuff here too. They can make a doc, make a slideshow, make a sheet, make a drawing, and as soon as they do that, Classroom shares it with you as the teacher. It just takes care of the sharing for you, does the whole thing, boom, gives it right to you that way. So students can have choice here when they go to submit a product by adding or creating. So I guess my question for you is, let's brainstorm here. What could they create? How could kids show that they understand photosynthesis? Obviously, there's nothing wrong with writing a report, so we'll put that down. We'll get that out of the way right away. Nothing wrong with that. That is perfectly fine. They can write a report, 3-paragraph essay, whatever. What else could they do?
It's almost like everything that we allow students to choose how they learn, they could make it. They could make a diagram.
You're exactly right. They could make an infographic. Maybe a diagram is that kid thinks in diagrams, and they're going to show this is how photosynthesis happens, and they're going to diagram the whole thing out. Or you said a video. Absolutely. Now that video could be a lot of different things, right? I mean, it could just be them explaining something. It could be them doing an animated demonstration where they show the process happening. It could be them dubbing, and I've actually got, that's part of the Screencastify webinar I did, is how you can dub a video. You can take an existing video and you can just put your voice in place of it as you explain what's happening. They could be dubbing an existing video. A lot of possibilities with video. What else could they make? Well, you said other things, slideshow. Yeah, there's slideshow up there. They can make, there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. What else could kids create? If kids were allowed to choose how they expressed their learning.
You could do a Prezi.
Yep. So the slideshow could be a traditional one. It could be a Prezi. It could be Google Slides.
They could create a lesson.
Oh my, how about that? They could create their own instructional lesson. I love that. Nothing like teaching something to show that you've learned it, because that's really what they're doing here, is they're teaching information. How about making a comic strip or a graphic novel or something where they explain the process? How about how about a poem, song, story? There could be a really creative kid out there who loves to write, and they're going to write some Harry Potter fan fiction that explains photosynthesis, and they will do it because they're going to, and it'll actually work. Now, obviously, we can't just say, pick anything you want and loosely tie it to this. Obviously, your instructions are going to say, you need to explain these key concepts of photosynthesis. These are this stuff has to happen somewhere in your project. I don't care how you do it, but these things have to be in there. These are the things you've got to cover in there. It can't just be, oh, it's loosely tied to it. But they could do all of these different options here. And I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more than just that. I'll pull up I'm going to forget half of mine at the moment, but these were some brainstormed ones I had earlier. We've got a report, a short story, an informational slideshow, an animated slideshow, a graphic organizer, an interactive diagram, a video, a dubbed video, an interactive video like with Edpuzzle, a comic strip, an ebook, a working model of photosynthesis inside of Minecraft, a 3D printed model of the parts of the leaf, an interactive Jeopardy game, an interactive quiz, a song, an informational website. There are so many possibilities of where students could create something unique, creative from themselves that expresses their learning. Now, something else that's worth mentioning here is that it doesn't have to be something technology that they're creating. It could be something non-tech, but then they could record a video explaining it. And what I mean by that is if they made, a papier-mâché model of something, if they drew a picture of something and it's not digital, it's something physical, great. Let them fire up Screencastify, hit the record button for the webcam, and they record themselves. Say you got to do a 5-minute, if it's not digital, you got to do a 5-minute video where you hold the thing up and you explain all the stuff about it. And you talk about what happened in that. And they grab that link from Screencastify and they stick that in through Google Classroom and they submit the video to you that way. So, differentiation can also be, at the very end, letting students choose what they make. And Google Classroom plays nicely with that. It lends itself very well to that. I think there's a lot of neat things that'll come from that. The kids are going to be excited because they're like, well, I get to do whatever I want to show this. I love to draw. I love to write. I love to, be creative. And so you're going to probably get more from them than they would have done if we said, okay, everybody must do something that looks exactly the same. They're going to be interested. They're going to be excited. And guess what? Now you've got more teaching materials because instead of getting 75 reports that you're going to grade and give back, you've got 75 who knows whats that you're going to be able to, now you've got this video you can show every year. Now you've got this awesome slideshow. You got a Jeopardy game this kid made that you can use now with your students. So the students are creating stuff that's not just for a grade, but now it's also information to feed back into the class and help other students learn. So differentiation can, I think, hit all of those different areas, and Classroom thankfully supports them all. So take it for a spin. Try some of these things out. See how that goes. I'd love to hear how that works for you guys. All right, absolutely. You bet.